I've really been learning in this season of life and moving forward to put my trust and my faith in something bigger than myself. And I've just really worked so much on my relationship to work and having a healthier balance with it that feels right for me. Next one might be a little bit controversial. Have this be your sign to trust your intuition. But I think if you have to beg for someone's love or approval, then is it really love? Like, if you think about it, like, is it really love? Well, hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is ICIE and I'm so happy to have you here. Today is actually my 25th birthday. It is currently July 22nd. It's a Tuesday, and as you can tell, I just finished getting out of the shower. I wanted to share a little bit of my day with you. I also wrote down 25 lessons I have learned by the age of 25. I was thinking about this birthday idea, and I used to do a lot more like sit down chatty videos, and today, as I get ready for the day, I wanted to share these 25 life lessons that I've learned. These are all just from my opinion, things that I have learned in my short 25 years here on this planet, but I'm really excited to share it with you. So with that said, let's get started on this list. I jotted these down right before I hit the record button here. So these aren't in any particular order. These are also things that I have been accumulating and thinking about over the past few weeks leading up to my birthday. So the first thing that I wrote down is don't have expectations, whether it's with people, plans, or goals in life. This is something that I am still very much learning, I'll be honest. I am a very type A person. I love to plan. I love to honestly have a sense of control, and I have gotten better with this over the years, but it's definitely something that I still find myself getting into ruts or getting really fixated on having things be a certain way rather than just letting things be. In some ways it can be really beneficial, and it's honestly helped me get where I am today, and I'm really proud of myself for some of the things that I have accomplished through my dedication and persistence. But at the same time, I do feel like it can be detrimental because I can get so fixed on how I want things to be that it takes away the beauty of the present moment and not trying to, I think, manipulate a situation to be something that it's not, because life isn't perfect. But that is something that I am trying to get better at and that I'm trying to bring with me into this new decade or this new era of life. The next one that I have written down is that your job doesn't define you. As you guys know, I recently got a new job in the beginning of the year, and I spoke a lot about that transition of my life. If you guys have been following my channel or you're more interested in why I made that decision, I go way more in depth about the reasoning behind that and all of that kind of like nitty-gritty details and stuff about why I left my old company. But I mean this more as like, you don't have to define yourself based on how much you can accomplish in a day. And again, that's something that I've had to really learn and rewire for myself, because for someone who has always been such a high achieving person, I've really had to understand like when it's time to grind and when it's time to push myself and when it's time to just let things be and not take things like so seriously. And I will tell you that my life has significantly been better for it. I am in a position right now that allows me the flexibility to do what I love, which is YouTube. It gives me the flexibility to focus on other passions I have. At the same time, I still feel fulfilled in it, in the sense that I am able to be helpful and I'm still doing what I love in an industry that I'm still passionate about growing, which is the legal industry. You guys know that I really got my start on my YouTube channel through sharing my legal assistant journey and now sharing my paralegal journey as I go to school for it. And when I made that decision like 8 months ago to change my job and go with a company that had more of a work-life balance, in my opinion, it just was so beneficial to my mental, my emotional, and my physical health. I've just really worked so much on my relationship to work and having a healthier balance with it that feels right for me. I think at the end of the day, no one can define what a healthy work-life balance is, because it's going to totally depend on your lifestyle, your age, where you're at in life, your priorities. But personally for me, I have found a balance that has really significantly just improved my overall well-being. And I feel like on my channel, I could feel a difference and a shift also in the creativity and like the types of videos that I've been putting out. Third one is let go and let God. Or if you're not religious or you don't believe in God, I also put here in parentheses, or the universe. This is something that I feel like ties back to the first lesson of not having expectations. And there is so much freedom, you guys, in learning to let go and just learning to accept the fact that some things will just be the way they are, and there's nothing that you can do or say or change that will change the situation or change the outcome of something. And in a lot of ways that can be really scary, especially as someone who is a control freak. Like, trust me, I get it. I am probably the most type A person that I know, but I have really been learning in this season of life and moving forward to put my trust and my faith in something bigger than myself, whether that's God or whether that's the universe. There is so much freedom in giving that like control and that autonomy to something bigger than yourself. And that has just given me a lot of peace. And it's something that I am continuing to learn. Okay, next one is be who you are. People will always like or dislike you either way. Okay, so this is also something I feel like that goes back to my people-pleasing tendencies. I will say that I have gotten way better at my people-pleasing. I feel like I used to be such a big people-pleaser in high school and in my like college years, and now getting into my mid-20s, I am way better at not being so concerned about whether... Actually, you know what? I take that back, because I feel like, you know, going to a new job, I did have to kind of relearn that process of not caring so much about what people think of me, and I'm definitely not perfect at this, but it is something that I do feel like, again, just makes your life so much easier when you don't place so much value on trying to be perfect or trying to be everyone's cup of tea. Like, for example, my YouTube channel. I make my YouTube channel and I try to show up how I am, you know, as I am in life. I try to be as authentic as possible, but I'm sure people who watch my channel will be like, you know, she's weird, or like she talks too much, or whatever judgment or perception that they have of me, they can project that onto what I'm sharing. And that's completely out of my control. Like, I can't control how everyone perceives me. I can really only control what I do. And as cliche as that sounds, I do think it gives a lot of freedom to show up as you are, because I feel like it's so much better to be who you are instead of pretending to be someone you're not and having people like you for a version of yourself that isn't even you. I notice this a lot with people who are very empathetic as people and who have learned at a young age to always check the vibes and make sure everyone's okay. Like, trust me, I get it. And I do feel like there is a lot of freedom in letting go of that idea that you don't have to be everyone's cup of tea. You really don't. And if people don't like you, I feel like what I'm learning to change my mindset to is saying thank you and being like, you know what? I'm glad I found out that we don't like each other, or that there's not really a good connection, because why would you want to waste your time on trying to connect with someone that from the beginning isn't a real connection to begin with, if you know what I mean. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. The next life lesson is travel. I feel like this one is pretty simple. I feel like this is probably gonna be in any like life lessons video that I ever make in the future, but I feel like I don't need to go too much on this, but there is so much beauty in this world. There is so much to explore if you have the opportunity to travel, even if it's just a different state. It doesn't have to be some type of exotic trip or some extravagant trip, but if you have the opportunity to travel somewhere new, I think it's great. I'm a big proponent of changing up the environment or the scenery to get kind of like a fresh start or a fresh perspective on things in life. I think it's so beneficial to have that, and I wanted to include it, but I think that one is pretty self-explanatory. The other one is progress over perfection. And yes, I am talking to all of you who are watching my video and you are perfectionists just like me. And I get it. Like, it's really hard, I think, to let go of the idea of perfectionism. I think that this one for me specifically, it could apply to in my career. Like, I feel like whenever I am, whether it's a new job or even with my YouTube videos, sometimes I think I had to get over this idea of perfectionism, because the reality is that it's never going to be perfect. Like, you're always going to have room to grow. There's always going to be a way to optimize a certain system or make better YouTube videos or tweak something to have it be at a different level, and it is okay to improve. I think you get better only by continuously trying and not getting so caught up in it has to be perfect, because when you're fixated on perfectionism, it is such a mental block and you really don't get anywhere. Like, the amount of times that I in the past have let perfectionism take over, one clear example I can think of this is when it comes to writing a story or even starting a YouTube channel. You know, I could sit there and say, you know, I'm never going to start a YouTube channel because I'm not going to get as many views, because I'm not successful enough, or I'm not going to have enough subscribers or whatever it is, or enough views. But more value on that idea versus just the act of starting something like my YouTube channel, then I'm never going to go anywhere. Like, an object that stays, what is that? I feel like it's like physics, but like an object that stays at rest will stay at rest. You guys know what I'm trying to talk about, right? Like, there's like that quote. I'll like insert it here on like what I'm talking about exactly. But there's that idea that if you don't start something, you're never really going to get anywhere. And the only way that you're going to get better and you're going to find your groove and you're going to find what works for you is just starting and being okay with it. Like, there is no shame in looking back at something and being like, wow, like, I have improved. Like, there is a big shift. I mean, even if you go back to some of my old YouTube videos, you can see the difference in camera quality. You can see in the difference in my comfortability level talking to the camera. Like, there's so many little things that have improved over the years. Like, granted, it is still me and the essence of the video is still me, but there's things that I've learned and I've changed and I've gotten better at as I've been doing this. And the only way that I was able to do better at that was truly just by trying. And I'm also going to try and get ready as well, because I feel like I'm getting so passionate about talking to you guys that I'm forgetting to get ready. But that is just something that I really, really wanted to share. And I'm going to do my brows off camera so that I can catch up a little bit. And then we'll go back to, I believe it is lesson number 7. Okay, the next one might be a little bit controversial, but not really. It's just a truth that I believe, which is money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy freedom. I feel like when it comes to money, I think some people can get really weird when it comes to finances or when it comes to talking about debt or anything related with money. I find that people can have a lot of strong emotions towards, and this is kind of something that I have to thank my boyfriend for seeing money as truly just a different type of currency of energy. And I think over the years, the way I have gotten better at dealing with my personal finances is understanding that money, like understanding the power that money holds. And I'm not just talking literally, like obviously we all need money to survive, we need money to live, pay our rent, pay our bills, but I think also just understanding bigger than that, that money can in a way, you know, buy or at least make it easier to live a life that aligns with you. That doesn't always have to be, you know, living this extravagant life or, you know, buying expensive cars or expensive clothes if that's not really who you are. But I have learned that being financially stable and being able to provide for yourself and have a savings and not having anxiety about money, like, it can give you so much freedom, and it allows you also to not just help yourself and give yourself a better life, but you can help other people. I haven't really talked a lot about my dad's immigration process, but that is something that I have been doing in the background. Is I sponsored my biological father to come here. He is planned to come here most likely at the end of the year. And this was a really long process. This was a 2.5-year process before we ever heard back. And my whole point of bringing that up is I feel really proud and grateful that I'm able to help him with this process. Now, there's still going to be a lot of transition. There's still going to be a lot of money, you know, up front and navigating that. But at the end of the day, I am really grateful and I am really blessed that I have the opportunity to do that for my father. And I think that is something that I am learning to continue to reshift my mindset when it comes to money, that money isn't bad. It isn't a bad thing to want to make more money or to want to be wealthy or to want to buy yourself a car or a house. In a lot of ways, it's actually very empowering and very motivating to surround yourself with people that don't treat money as like this big bad thing, but see it really as a tool. The next one is to stop chasing people, love, validation, or approval. Like, we're all human and we all want to feel loved and accepted at the end of the day. But I think if you have to beg for someone's love or approval, then is it really love? Like, if you think about it, like, is it really love if you have to beg for something? Because I think someone who truly loves you, and I'm not just talking romantically, but I'm talking about friendships, too. Like, this applies to navigating friendships in your 20s, is that if you have to beg for someone to be in your life or you have to chase people to be in your life, then I think it's time to question whether that thing or person is really worth chasing. Like, if you stopped chasing X, Y, and Z, like, would this person make an effort to be in your life? And as an adult, you learn that we're all on different paths in life and it's not realistic to always hang out or to always be present at every single event. But I think you can tell when someone genuinely wants to be in your life and makes an effort and it feels reciprocated. And I think that's more so where I'm coming from, that things aren't always going to be 50-50. You might be in a better place in life than your friend or vice versa. And having grace with that is also, I think there's definitely a time and place to have that, but also understanding that friendships and good relationships take effort, and you also need to be able to discern like who a true friend is and which connections are worth fighting for, in my opinion. We are almost halfway through the list. The next one is to hug your parents more, spend more time with your parents. I shared this in a recent video where my parents came to visit me and we were all surrounded at the dining table having lunch, and it just kind of dawned on me that my parents aren't going to be here forever. I don't want to get really dramatic, or I don't mean to make things, you know, more sentimental than they need to be, but that's the reality of it, that, you know, I'm also at an age now where I have experienced loss when it comes to family members in my life, and even with my significant other, like, we have both experienced loss. It's also something that my friends have experienced, and as I grow older, I really want to make the time and make sure that I prioritize seeing them, because there was like a post once that I read that there's only so many birthdays and it's like so many Christmases. Basically just quantified like how many days you have with your parents, and when you really think about it from that perspective, you do see that time is finite. Like, we are not here forever, and I think if you have the opportunity and you're blessed enough to have parents, or maybe not even your parents, or if you grew up with family members who raised you, or grandparents, I think taking the time to say I love you, taking the time to hug them a little tighter, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. It's what people don't know, people don't have power over. Learning to value privacy. I think in this day and age, when we are in a society that is very fast paced, everything is on social media. Pretty much everyone has social media nowadays. And I do see the value in it. I feel like I would be hypocritical to not talk about the value that social media brings and the connections and the opportunities that it can bring. I mean, I have a YouTube channel, I have my Instagram account, and I love it. I love being able to express myself creatively. I love this. Really applies for me, at least when it comes to relationships in life. I have just learned that I've learned the value of not sharing like every single detail. That's also something that my boyfriend and I are very big on. There's something that I read before that I really resonate with, which is, I think, being in a relationship that isn't a secret, but it's also, wait, how does the quote go? I need to like think for a minute how the quote goes, but it was something like, I think this is the closest that I'm gonna get, but the quote basically goes, keep your relationship private, but not a secret. There's a big difference. And the way I interpret that is, if you want to share a cute photo of your relationship, share it. And I mean this, I think when I'm talking about this, I'm talking it in like a romantic context, because that's like what I'm thinking of when I hear this quote. But this could also be like any type of relationship you have, or if you have children. I don't think that you need to hide your relationship. I think you should be proud to say that this person is your person, but I think understanding that you don't have to share every single detail. There are some things that are better off private, and in some ways they are more sacred that way. And I think that's also something that when I got into this relationship in my life when I was a little bit older, I was in my first relationship from the ages of 18 to 22, and that relationship taught me so much about who I am when you don't have so many like outside noises and opinions being projected onto said relationship. And related to that, this is kind of along the same lines, which is learning the beauty of silent dating. We live in a culture now where it is so common, and I see this a lot on like Instagram reels, and even the content that's like pushed on my algorithm about like dating advice, and you know, if a man does X, Y, and Z, you need to drop him. And I don't really condone any type of dating advice that is black and white, because at the end of the day, I don't think relationships are black and white. I think there needs to be grace and wiggle room. I think there's also like context that has a lot to do when it comes to dating. And I think this is also something that's very common I see with a lot of women. Now, I can only speak from a female perspective because I'm a female, but I think something that I see a lot, whether it's with my friends or even with myself, I've made this mistake too, oversharing too much. And then when you tell someone about something and then they're like, oh, they did that, like, oh girl, you should leave him. Like, it really can influence you, especially us as women. Like, I do feel like we are more sensitive to perception, and especially when it comes to like our love life or romantic life, like it's very easy to get easily influenced by the people around us. And it's also good to have outside opinions to make sure that you're not being blindsided, or maybe you're not seeing something that you could be, you know, have tunnel vision over. But I do think there's just like certain aspects when it comes to dating and like romance that I think goes a lot smoother when you don't have an audience to broadcast everything to and to influence how you feel. Because at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, how do you feel about this person? How does this person make me feel? And whether or not your friends or even your family like them, like, it is you that is living with that decision. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. I hope that makes sense. The one advice I would give to my younger self, or if I had a younger sister and she came to me about dating, that's the one thing that I would say. Honoring your body. Now, I don't just mean this in the physical sense of like moving your body, fueling your body with like the right ingredients. But us women, like, we are so powerful, and it's beautiful what our bodies are capable of, like being able to produce life. And I think just being, you know, protect your energy, you know, don't just allow people to have access to your body just because they can. When you really appreciate your car, you're gonna make sure that you're fueling it, that you are, changing the oil, and that, you're not putting any crazy stuff in it. You're checking the engine, you're like maintaining it. And I try to think of my body as like that as well, is that if I want it to be the best, if I want it to be at the most optimal level, then I need to nourish it from the inside out. And not just for physical looks or to look a certain way, but just to feel good and to feel good in my own. Okay, we're almost done with this list. So almost done with getting ready. We're pretty much done with the eyes. I'm gonna do a little bit of liquid blush. I'm almost done with this Rare Beauty, but this stuff is so pigmented that I think it actually looks better now that it's almost run out. I like I like how it sits on the skin a little bit more when it's not as intense. Okay, it is to be okay with disappointing people. I recently heard this in a podcast. One of my favorite podcasts is Being Her by Margarita Nazarenko. I don't know if I said her name correctly, but it is honestly so helpful, especially for women who are wanting to get more in their feminine energy. She's very unfiltered. She provides really brutally honest advice about dating, being in your feminine energy, career, also being like a boss lady. Like, she does it all, and I really appreciate her content because she doesn't villainize one gender over the other. Like, she has a very, I feel like, objective view, and she tells it how it is. But one of the things that she was talking about in her podcast recently, I can't remember which episode it was, but I think she was talking about like anxious attachment style. And in her videos, she talked about how as women, we need to be okay with disappointing people because we're just not going to please everyone. Like, there's always going to be someone who won't like us. There's always going to be someone who will disapprove of our decisions or the way we act. And it is not our responsibility to make everyone feel comfortable. But I think it's like a muscle. Like, the more you get okay with disappointing people and being like, even if you don't like my decision, I still stand by it, and that's okay. I think you strengthen that muscle and that ability to say yes to yourself when you say no to other people. I am naturally someone who is a people pleaser. I do feel like I've had to rewire a lot of my mindset when it comes to that, just from my childhood and being really shy as a kid. I feel like I learned how to make friends based on how comfortable I could make people feel. And at the end of the day, I think being truly confident is the ability to be okay with yourself, even if you may disappoint someone or someone may not completely agree with your decision. But let's keep going because we're almost done with the list. Okay, the next one is to learn to enjoy your solitude. This is something that when I first got out of my first relationship, I had such a codependency when it came to relying on someone. And that was a huge internal challenge that I had to break. And I still have moments of loneliness, especially during that time of month. I still can get lonely, or I can like miss my boyfriend because we don't live together. But overall, I feel like I have learned to really enjoy my solitude. It's peaceful. Sit in your thoughts, and I think you also learn so much about yourself because not everyone is always going to be available. Like, sometimes you're going to want to go to the movies and people won't be available, and it's okay to do things on your own. I don't think it's weird at all. I don't think it makes you like a weird or uncool person. If anything, I look at someone and I'm like, you know what, that's cool. She wants to do something and she's doing it on her own, and she's not relying on other people or waiting for other people. Like, if other people join, that's great, but she has the confidence and the initiative in herself and the inner peace to know that whether or not someone joins her, she's gonna have a fun time. And I've really been channeling that energy over the past couple of years, I do feel like, because it's such a freeing feeling to be in that state of mind, I think, to not truly rely on someone. Choosing wisely who you share your wins and successes to. This is something that I recently heard again in a podcast. She was saying how she thinks that it's harder for people actually to be there for you when you're winning and succeeding in life rather than when you're in a negative space. And I actually quite agree with her, because if you think about it, when you're going through a rough patch in life, there's that saying that goes, misery loves company. I think it is way harder to be truly happy for someone that is winning at life, or has a great relationship, or, is doing something that is super cool and awesome. Like, it's harder to find people that won't be envious or jealous of your success, or jealous of what you have, and doesn't have like a weird energy about it. And I think when you find those people who genuinely want what's best for you with no strings attached, and genuinely want to see you succeed in life, hold on to those people, because they are hard to come by. And with that said, I think when it comes to sharing your passions and sharing what you want to do, I don't believe that everyone needs to know. I think sometimes you can just do the work in silence and let your success speak for itself. But don't listen to those voices that are just really negative, because I think at the end of the day, people who I think are negative when it comes to someone pursuing their passions, or pursuing something that they're really passionate about, I think they're just envious or jealous at the end of the day that they themselves aren't doing that. Like, that is the reality that I have witnessed. Not everyone deserves access to you. I feel like this goes back to what I was saying earlier about having discernment, but it's true. Like, just because you can say yes, and just because people want a piece of you, they don't always deserve it. I do believe in letting people show you who they are, and then deciding from there whether or not they deserve a place in your life. And it's not coming from a place of like, I'm better than them, but I think this is genuinely a way to have boundaries and how to protect your peace. My camera ran out of space again, and my camera's also about to die. So we're gonna kind of rapid fire these last few in yourself, whether it's taking care of your skin, or you are your biggest investment, truly. Like, there's only one you in this world, and your future self will thank you later for that. This is a big one for women, is trust your intuition. Don't doubt yourself. There's a difference, I think, between being overly critical or overly doubtful of something versus learning when you know something sits with you right. And I think as women, we know it, but again, we doubt ourselves a lot. So don't be afraid to trust yourself and trust the process, because I think we really do have a strong intuition, more than we give ourselves credit for. This be your sign to trust your intuition. Okay, the next one is to take more photos, document your life. I know not everyone loves photos, but making your life beautiful with small moments and enjoying those small moments is something that I've really loved having, especially with a YouTube channel that I'm able to have and use it as like a visual diary. I think we all have masculine and feminine within us, and I think both are equally valuable. When you're in your masculine energy, it is the doing, it is taking action, and it's taking initiative. And it's, I think, harnessing that willpower that we have as women, because we are so multidimensional and we play so many different roles. But I think also learning the beauty of feminism and being in your feminine energy. Feminine energy is about flowing. It's about being present, letting go. Like, that is a theme in this entire video, about letting go and not, trying to control things, being playful, reconnecting with that inner child. And I think having that balance is so important, because you need both of those things. You need both of those things in order to thrive. And I think when you have that healthy balance of both of those, or you at least learn how to bring that side of yourself, I think you really do enrich your life. Don't be afraid to change. Change is inevitable. The only thing that is guaranteed in life is death and change. I think I used to be really, really scared of change, but going into 25, I'm realizing that, life is gonna change. Oh my gosh, did you guys see that? I got makeup on my lid. But life is gonna change either way. Like, you can't deny change. Like, you're afraid to change your mind. Like, it is okay. Like, the things that I used to want when I was 22 to 25 are different, and probably when I'm 27 to 30, like, what I want is gonna change, and that is a beautiful thing. That means you are growing, that means you are evolving. My third lesson is, what you resist will persist. I heard this on a podcast. I have to give credit where credit is due, but I heard this on Kaylin's Coffee Talk. One of my favorite YouTubers is Kaylin Nicholson, and she has a podcast called Kaylin's Coffee Talk, and she talked about this a long time ago, but I love this phrase that I don't know if she coined it or got it from somewhere else, but she talked about what you resist will persist. And I also love phrases that rhyme, but this is just a great, I think, perspective in life that when you're running away from something, running away from a problem, or maybe it's your finances, maybe it's a bad habit, or you're avoiding something, I think when you avoid it rather than going through it, life has a way of throwing it back in your face until you've learned your lesson. Finish this. The 24th one is let people show you who they are. You don't need to fake it. People will show you who they are. Very, very last one. We made it to the last one is you are enough. But like really, you are. You are enough. You are worth it. You are pretty enough. You are more than capable enough to do anything you want in this life. I just want to remind you of that. And if you ever need a reminder that you are enough, just come back to this video. Those are the 25 life lessons I have learned. We made it through this video. My camera's about to die. I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you to all of you who greeted me happy birthday, and thank you to all of you for being with me on this journey. I'm so grateful for all of you. And if you have any other life lessons that you want to share, or if you have any advice for me as a now 25-year-old, I would love to know in the comments down below. Okay, bye guys. I'll see you soon.